All right, it was on this day, December 9th, 2002, when UIL Corp, the parent of United Airlines, filed the largest aviation bankruptcy in U.S. history. Record losses, high costs, and a travel slump, leaving the world's second biggest carrier unable to pay about $1 billion in overdue debt. Now, while that bankruptcy was the result of a hodgepodge of events that had been bubbling up for years, the tipping point really came with the fall of four key dominoes over a 2-year period. A labor dispute that drove up compensation costs, a plan to merge with U.S. Airways that collapsed in mid-2001 amid government pushback, the September 11 tax that year that upended the economics of air travel, and the denial of an almost $2 billion government-backed loan that would have actually served as a lifeline for the company's struggling income statement and balance sheet. In fact, UAL filed for court protection only after it neared the end of that grace period on its overdue debt amid 9 straight quarterly losses. United Airlines, the biggest of the 28 UAL business units, included in the bankruptcy filing, listed $23 billion in assets and about $21 billion in debt. The business and financial structure, it was so complex, involving dozens of business units with dozens of third-party partnerships and thousands of creditors, that James Spragran, the Kirkland Ellis lawyer who led the bankruptcy team, he told the Chicago Sun-Times back in 2006 that the United case was the longest and most difficult bankruptcy ever. Now, officially, it took 1,150 days for United to exit bankruptcy, which at the time was actually already on its way to being eclipsed. And that brings us to our question of the day. While United was in bankruptcy protection for roughly 3 years, which company surpassed that record almost immediately, and by how much? The answer? Chemical company W.R. Grace. It took 12 years for Grace to work through its bankruptcy proceeding after it filed for protection back in 2001, trying to escape more than 100,000 asbestos-related injury lawsuits. As for UAL and United Airlines, the bankruptcy actually was a bit of a blessing in disguise, setting up one of the more notable comeback stories of the modern era, a comeback that saw United emerge as a much leaner and more efficient airline that helped it reset a path to growth and profitability, and ultimately helped it weather the pandemic disruptions of 2020 better than most of its peers.